We are continuing on this how to not be triggered journey, and today we're going to get practical. Up to this point, we have been talking a little bit about philosophy and ancient wisdom, and while this is very, very helpful, ultimately, it's not the knowledge that is the power, but it's the applied knowledge. It is using this to actually shift and change things happening right now in your life. Now, of course, while doing the practice of Yoga Nidra, you're getting benefit. Things are already shifting and changing inside of you, and hopefully you are feeling that. Certainly, after what we discussed yesterday, I know you now have a much deeper understanding of the power of what you're doing and how so much can get done in the non-doing. It is so counter to what we're used to in this life that laying down and listening to something can actually accomplish so much. But today, I want to talk about very specifically something that is triggering you. There is a reason that you said, yes, I need this journey. I need to have these understandings. I want to go on this with you. And perhaps with maybe holiday season or something that's coming up recently, you feel these triggers, these buttons getting pushed like crazy. And so I want you right now to think of what is one thing that is currently triggering you in your life. All right, what is one thing that right now, maybe it's a person, maybe it's a situation, but what is currently triggering you right now? I'm going to run through an example alongside with you, and I don't want you to just think about this. I want you to write it down. There's something about putting pen to paper or pencil to paper or even typing it out onto your phone. That's fine too. But I want you to truly reflect on this. So let's give the example of my in-laws are coming into town. Okay, and so I know that this triggers me a lot because they're really messy, they're really critical, they always comment on how I run my household. All right, let's say this is your situation. You are going to put yours down. I'm going to run this as an example so you kind of see what should be revealed in this questioning process. So the next question, what internal response are you having to this situation that is adding to it? Remember, we learned the other day that the external world, the in-laws are coming to town, plus our internal response is creating our reality. So my question is, all right, you see the external trigger, right? That's what you wrote in number one. What is the internal response you're currently having that maybe is adding to your experience of life being not so great? All right. So perhaps in this situation, an example, it's like, well, my internal response is to get defensive, to get irritated, like my chest even tightens and I'm just like starting to have to over-explain myself and I get really uncomfortable. And then I try to control everything so that everything is nice. And these are the internal responses, right? What are you currently doing? How are you showing up in this situation with this person that is contributing to the overall experience that you are currently having while it relates to this? Now, if you need to pause this at any point to contemplate, please do, but we're going to continue on. The next question, what internal response would you prefer to have? Okay, if we know that all we can control is ourselves, we can't control the in-laws, they're going to be who they are, we can't make it be any different. What is the place where we can exercise some level of control? It's in our internal response. And so if this current pattern was no longer running you, right, how would you ideally like to be? Good question. So maybe in this situation, I'd like to feel calm, I'd like to feel steady, I'd like to feel grounded, I'd like to be able to speak my needs, to articulate myself without the emotion, without tension building up, without it coming across as me being upset or emotional, but just very rationally asking if they could pick up after themselves or just not minding, letting go of the control and saying, okay, they'll be messy and when they're gone, I'll clean. Right? Think about what could your internal response be that would allow for a different situation? I'm not saying you have to do it, okay? So let's calm down. I'm not saying this is what you need to do. I'm saying if we consider that our internal response is adding to the situation, right? It was an equation, it was a plus sign. It is adding to the situation. What could you do differently? Where could you exercise an internal shift? And now I want you to just imagine for a moment, I'm not saying you have to do it, but just imagine if you did this new internal response, okay? So question number 4, if you did this new internal response, this new way of being, how would you feel? if you're able to do it, how do you actually think you would feel? Probably more relaxed in your own body. I know in this situation, right, the person probably feels more empowered, more confident. They feel less reactive, peaceful. How would you feel if this was the way you were able to meet this person and interact with this person? I'm not saying you have to do it. I'm saying, what would it feel like if? Imagine, just imagine. Let yourself imagine it. All right? Now, doesn't that feel a lot better? And realizing that this is the place where we can exercise control. But I want to take this just one step further. And I want you now to just see, all right, we're going to start to ask the question. If this situation is revealing an internal seed of mine, all right, so whatever this person or situation, the in-laws in this case that I gave you this example, the in-laws are their weather pattern. This person, this situation is the weather pattern in your life, and it is triggering something. What is that core need or fear or belief set that's actually being triggered? What is the internal thing that's going on here? Is it a need to control, right? In the case with the in-laws, probably there's a level of like, well, I can't control them, and I have a problem when I can't control things. All right, maybe it's a need to be loved. Well, I couldn't say something to them about what they're doing because then they wouldn't love me. All right, maybe it's a need to be seen, or a need to be approved of, or a need to be chosen, or maybe there's a fear coming up, right? A fear of being abandoned. Well, if I say this, then I'm going to upset them, and then my spouse is going to leave me, and la la la. A fear of being rejected. A fear of not being good enough. What seed do you think is living there? Remember, every trigger is a teacher. It's trying to reveal to you the thing that is sitting inside of you, this unfinished event from your past, belief system, patterned way of being that is asking to be released. And now you're getting the opportunity, whoever right now is causing this weather to be in your garden, I want you to just express some gratitude, because they are allowing for you to have some very deep insight into some things that are holding you back, right? Because these things, these seeds, they have a frequency, and they're going to draw in things that, right, like attracts like. They're going to draw in things at that frequency. And if you want to be free of that, we need to understand what it is that is sitting there. So hopefully these questions have started to help you look in a little bit deeper, get a different lens, a different perspective on this situation. And if you've got any questions, any comments, if you want to share what the seed it is that you believe is being triggered within you, it's always so helpful to learn from one another and to see this. So please put it in the comments and let's continue the discussion.